Hello, everyone. This is Mark Anthony with AIEdgePodcast.com, where we bring you the best of the best doctors in their niche and what they do. Today, we have a special guest. We have Dr. Nick Athens. Yes, a legend. I had to say that. His reaction. He has a book that's out. Unbelievable. You're going to want to get it to Health with You. I recommend this 100%. Why do I recommend this? I've read this book. Actually, I'm halfway done, to be truthful. But what I will say, one of the things that really caught my eye in this book was the mental game of life. And a lot of it's mental. And if we don't master the mentality, the mentalness of our life, we are going to have a rough life. How many people out there are struggling with maybe their body? They're getting older. They don't feel longevity. I know I do, but I know that there's a way to reverse. And how that is? Well, number one, it's not by doing nothing. It's about moving. Movement creates activity, and activity creates freedom. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today is this beautiful book. I love this book, and we're going to have Dr. Athens talk a little bit about it. If you wouldn't mind, Dr. Athens, again, thank you for being on the show. I'm already jumping right to the questions, man.
Oh, I love it. My goal is to help people help make their lives better. To me, in sports, athletes, the best athletes are the ones that made their teammates better. So my goal is to make people's lives better and give them an easy guidance to do it, not telling them what to do, but guiding them
Right.
where to go to get the best statistical relevance going forward to have great results.
Well, let's talk about how all this happened. I know that, at least for me, the way I saw it happening, just reading your book, is the Joe Montana. At least that's what I saw. That's when I think that, your career was already, of course, doing very well, but it's like all of a sudden it jump started overnight. It seemed like, if I was reading correct.
Yeah, in the 80s, coming out of school, you think once you get out of school, you're going to be successful. But in my profession, you had to work at it. It's kind of like school was vacation. So in essence, the real world hits. And now you have to go out and get rejected. And like I said in the book, 8 out of 10 people as a chiropractor back in the 80s rejected you. And as a result of that, the way you had to kind of go give talks and get rejected a lot. But I figured 8 out of 10 people rejected me, which I said in the book, that means 2 out of 10 would say yes. So I had to go through 8 out of 10 no's. I got 2 yeses, and then 16 out of 20 no's, but that means 4 yeses. And,
Yep.
exponentially, it just keeps going forward. And you get those 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 who tell other people to come in and they're getting results. And, you have to really give patients results. And if you're going to talk a good game, you better follow through on it. Talking and doing are two different things. So you had to make sure you did what you said and followed through and guided people and taught them. And, like you said, the Joe Montana thing with working with athletes, it was a great way to launch um, the profession, especially in the sports world, where people said, well, if it's good enough for Joe, it's good enough for me. And if he's doing it, then I can do it too, because he wouldn't send me down this rabbit hole of ill health. That even puts pressure on you even more to make sure you perform, which I didn't mind. I wanted to do that. So as a result of that, all these patients come in, and then over the years, so long story short, after 42 years, you learn so much from their patients. Instead of a doctor telling patients what to do, I learned from patients. I saw the patterns they all had, what led them down the rabbit hole of ill health. And now you could share all those patterns with other people and give them better results quicker and sooner and bring this guidance to them, that stuff they never thought about. And as a result of that, you see the mindset, you see how people are in pain and what it does to their body. It's like this alien took over them. They're not themselves. They talk a lot more. They're frustrated. They can't sleep. Their relationships aren't doing well. A lot of stuff happens as a chain reaction, like a domino effect, and all because of the pain they're in. And so, you realize after a while that you help them physically, you help them actually mentally too. You're helping them physically break the mental chaos in their brain, because, which we talked about the mental part, the brain wants to protect you. And so it's not going to put you in a good mood if it's trying to protect you. Why would it do that? Because it's afraid it might hurt you yourself even more. So what do? There's ways to kind of help yourself mentally and physically in the book. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I wanted to make sure made it affordable for people where they could learn something from it. It's not like they had to take IVs and supplements, something that they just are aware of how their body works more efficiently to give them a better outcome and what they're searching for.
Wow. So let's talk more about, the brain. I liked a lot of the stuff that you talked about on the brain. What are maybe, there's a bunch of tools that you gave in the book, but what would you say one good tool that you can maybe give the audience, because we want them to buy the book, of course, because it's a fantastic book. And
Mhm.
of course, we know that, leaders are readers. And what would you say, like maybe an example of one thing that you've maybe helped somebody or people with, or even someone in sports or with retraining the brain?
Well, I think a lot of patients who are stressed use outside in coping mechanisms, Mark. They use alcohol, they use pharmaceutical drugs, they use sugar, they use food, tobacco, and they go to gambling. They use these coping mechanisms to calm their brain. We're all after this dopamine, endorphins. We're all after the feel good chemicals every day. So imagine we're after
Yes.
these feel good chemicals every day. And so we could either stimulate them from the outside in through all the stuff I just mentioned, or maybe there's a hack we could do to stimulate them from the inside out. Nobody really looks at that because, in the pharmaceutical world, they're not going to look at, they're going to look at medications to try to stimulate that from the outside in. But what if we got even better stats from the inside out? And that's what I talked about is how can we stimulate instead of outside in stress? How do we, instead of using outside in coping mechanisms for stress, how about we stimulate the inside out? Adding more calm. So if we look at scales, most people are 24/7, they're out of balance. But what if instead of trying to remove stress from the outside in, if we added more calm, we could even the scales too. And so in the book, we talk about movement. I talk about the exercise, which we all know to do. But another thing the brain doesn't want to do once that puts you in this protective mode, it doesn't want to be in the present moment. It's counterintuitive to be in the present moment. So I talk about all the present activities you could do to keep you in the moment to train the brain. And if you do present time activities, because your brain's always looking to the past and the future and the past and the future, and it only knows what we teach it. And this past and the future life is very like an emotional roller coaster, and it's very frustrating being in our own bodies. We lose the tug of war in our own brain. And so the number one thing I would say, Mark, is stay in this eye of the storm, which I talked about a hurricane, stay in the eye. That's the zone life of an athlete. You stay in this calm with all this chaos going on around you. If you could stay in this calm and make it part of your life, all this chaos isn't as intense. It's not as magnified. It slows down and you're able to live more of that calm. And there's your decision making. So the decision making happens better in this calmer state than this more reactive state. Now you're not searching for alcohol. You're not searching for fast food. You're not searching for prescription drugs. You're not trying to get the dopamine hit. You could find other ways to get the dopamine endorphin channel going from the inside out, which we talk about in the book. And it all starts with calming the brain, being less reactive, so your decisions have more clarity and focus. And so I teach you how to kind of get to that eye of the storm, to add more calm to your body, to break the cycle from the inside out. And you're going to be a lot happier with yourself. Your relationships will be better. You'll have a better relationship with your kids. And that's the main thing, because you see, when you change people's lives around, you get them out of pain. Now they're getting along better with their spouse. They're not, I've had parents who said, I don't hit my children as much. I've had kids who said, Doc, I'm getting A's now. I was getting C's and D's. And people go, that's crazy. You can't help someone's IQ. I'm not trying to help someone's IQ. I'm just saying, hey, if someone's stressed out and their body's not working right, their focus and their clarity is like this dimmer switch has gone way down. So if you could help them raise the dimmer switch in the body to get to the highest level, like an 8-cylinder engine going with 5 cylinders, if I could get those other 3 cylinders working, now I got a more efficient sports car. So I'm raising the dimmer switch inside the body. And there's ways to do that, to raise that performance level that people don't know about. They're trying to get outside in performance level instead of inside out. And my job, my teachings and what I've learned is how to hack the inside out to make it more efficient.
I love that. When I was reading your book, it gave me an idea of, if we don't slow our brains down and we react right away,
Yep.
junk's going to come out. If we slow our brains down methodically, wisdom comes out. Now you're able to make the right decisions, the right choices. And I've looked at that in my own life where I've made quick decisions out of my emotions. And so many people have a hard time, especially these days, because we're used to having everything fast, quick, our way. Starbucks takes 2 minutes to get a cup of coffee.
Right.
McDonald's takes 3 minutes to get a burger. And if we don't get what we want, we get frustrated. And next thing you know, we're going from emotion instead of wisdom.
Another thing, Mark, too, you're teaching your brain that's your normal. So whatever we teach our brain inside our head, our conscious brain's 5 to 10%, and we teach 99.5% of our brain, our autopilot brain, who we really are. We're getting teachings into that system every day, this autopilot system, right? So if you don't teach it the right way, and you teach it stress and anxiety, stress and anxiety, stress and anxiety, it says, oh, okay, I guess that's what we got to do now. We got to have stress and anxiety. That's our normal.
Right.
That's where people actually teach themselves inside. So now the stress and anxiety is so high in their brain, they lose the tug of war. They can't calm themselves. So they have to use these outside in coping mechanisms to kind of quiet that brain. They're trying to search for the calm. And then when you look for the alcohol and you look for the pharmaceuticals and the medications and you look for the
Right.
sugar and the bad food choices, you're actually setting yourself up their brain for now you're teaching it bad craving mechanisms. So not only are you teaching it bad stress and anxiety mechanisms, you're teaching the outside in craving mechanisms. And now you got the 2-for-1 going against you. You got both going. You're trying to get calm, but now your cravings are so high in your brain, you can't even say no to them. You lose the tug of war. And that's crazy. And my point is, if you can add calm in the life, you're not going to run down and looking for, maybe you're only having your wine Friday nights. Maybe you're only having your Sunday on Saturdays when you go out with your friends. Maybe you're not making it part of a regular part to send you down the rabbit hole of ill health. And so if you can make better decisions, you're going to have better consequences. Time will expose your decisions. Time exposes decisions. So myself, I was telling you, at 66, you see time. You see time, what it does to the body. And you see over 42 years what times does to people's decision making. And since what brings them in the office in the first place is another thing too, our conscious brain, everybody does know fantasy for perception and reality. So a lot of people come in thinking they got this, they got this, they got this, but the perception is so strong, it's inaccurate. And so when
Right.
they come in, I give them a realistic second opinion. And the analogy I have of that is athletes with coaches. And I talk about that in the last part of the book, accountability. And you can imagine the chaos in pro sports without coaches. Coaches take the athlete to a level they can't get to by themselves. Timeouts are a regular part of sports. I've never seen a sporting event without a timeout. What does the timeout do?
Slow
The
it
coach
down.
sits down to the athletes. They think they're playing a certain way. The coach says, realistically, no, that's your perception. That's your fantasy. You're not accurate. I'm going to give you a better accuracy by why I'm seeing the game than what you're seeing. And so he launches them out to try to win the game. He puts them out onto the court to play. And playing on the court is totally different than being a fan in the stands. And so on the court, you have balls go off your feet, you miss shots, you don't move your feet. The coaches are always, looking for ways to kind of find out how the flow of the game's going to correct it. Realistic voices. Now we can't have pro coaches. We can't have coaches that we pay all day, but how about if we have accountability people? Someone we walk the hiking trail with, we go to Tai Chi class with, we go to the pool with, we go to the gym with, we have a group of, we go to dance classes, we go to yoga, Pilates classes. So we can have these groups in our life to keep us accountable, to give us this realistic voices, this realistic healthcare team that kind of guides us and gives us better statistics for health going forward. If we could build this team around us, it's a really powerful part of your healthcare picture. If you look at even the blue zones, right? You look at the blue zones who live 100 years old, they're calm. They don't have a lot of stress. They're not in traffic jams. And they all have this community wherever they live. They have this community where they live that kind of, if they're having bad days, the community picks them up and kind of gives them some guidance, some realistic voices to counterbalance the fantasy perception part of the brain. And as a result of that, now you have good food choices. So you have good food choices, less reactive choices with calmness, with community. Man, it's a great, powerful way to hack the inside, to add more calm. So you need these outside in coping mechanisms as much. And as a result of that, you can stay more in the eye of the storm, better decision making and less reactive decision making. So that's the goal with the book, is get you mentally into a better place to have better results and a better quality of life as you age.
No, I love that. I'm going to read something from Joe Montana you put on your book. Dr. Nick was a trailblazer and ahead of his time. It's because of Nick's work that most pro sport teams have chiropractors as part of their training staff. Joe Montana. How did you feel when he endorsed you like that? Like, it must have been an amazing feeling.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, whenever you get athletes that, especially with someone who has the high
Joe
level,
Montana.
shows accomplishments, right? It's great because the whole purpose is, Joe knows I wouldn't put something out there if it wasn't going to be good for society and helping other people out. So my main goal is to always focus on this, eye of the storm. And I told you earlier, Mark, a good quarterback has all this chaos going around him, chaos, but he's looking up the field. He's sidestepping the chaos, and it's just part of the game. He knows it's always going to be there. And the more you kind of get used to this chaos and the more you kind of let it kind of gets quieter, and that makes you even more super powerful. Calm is the superpower. And
Mhm.
I'm glad that he's, endorsing a way to take care of yourself to give you a better trajectory, better formula moving forward in your life to have better results. And that's what we want, stats. I want good stats with patients who come in. We have 98% of the patients who come see us get well. We can't help everyone, but 98% is really good. I'm happy with that. We have positive Yelp reviews, positive Nextdoor reviews. As a private practitioner, you have to earn these patients by their referrals, by their friends, their
Yeah.
families. That means you have to produce, you have to perform. And much
Sure.
like an athlete, they have to produce and perform on the field. And so in my world, I'm so used to performing and producing. And it's great to have someone who sees that, acknowledges that, and says, well, I think that you can help people out and put their name to that too. So I really commend Joe, and I'm really happy he did that. And he's helping the profession, not just myself. He's helping the profession, the largest drugless health profession, launch forward, and maybe have people look at that where they never thought of looking at that before.
Well, that's amazing. I know that you and I were talking about how when that went in the newspaper, there was, about how you helped out Joe, and he was
Mhm,
talking about helping out other athletes, because this was not just a sponsorship for you, but
mhm.
it was for other chiropractors. I
Yep.
mean, that had to have changed the game. This was what, 1990 when that
Yeah,
happened.
1990 that happened. Yeah, it was a pre-Super Bowl game special, and there's never been a chiropractor, right? Joe gave a pre-Super Bowl adjustment on the pre-Super Bowl game show, and I didn't have to. It was something, what it cost to do advertising on the pre-Super Bowl game show. So it's something like a couple $1 million worth of free publicity, where plus you're getting a minute and a half on the pre-Super Bowl game special on giving adjustments. So it kind of changed the game of the profession. If it's good enough for Joe, it'd be like Michael Jordan getting adjusted.
Yeah. Okay.
If you see these guys getting worked on, hey, what are they doing? I want to know because I want to do what they're
I
doing.
want that.
If it's working for them, it can maybe work for me. And so that jump started the whole profession in the right way. And now as a result, we're talking about the profession. Most all NFL teams have chiropractors, baseball teams, basketball teams. So
Now they
it's
do.
more accepted where before it wasn't. And if I could change and be a trailblazer in that way, I'm happy with it, even though you don't get maybe the final result in the back part, but at least you're moving the profession in the right direction, which I mentioned in the book. And it's all good. And I'm happy that I was able to accomplish that with the help of the 49ers and a lot of the players who endorsed the profession in that time.
I mean, I think it's amazing because I mean, just thinking about it, I mean, there's what, I mean, how many chiropractors would you say out there? About 300,000-400,000 chiropractors.
There's actually about 75, 80,000, I think, 80, 90,000 now. Yeah. Yeah.
Way.
In the United
Yeah, a
States.
lot
Yeah. In
more.
the United States. Now, yeah, that's not worldwide, right? So wide.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. More than that. But in the United States, I'm talking about, right? But,
Right.
it kind of like I said, and just like any profession, there's good and there's bad, but you have good ones and bad ones. And just like in any profession, I acknowledge that. And so the key is in our profession, so it's so important, Mark, that I launch the profession in the right way, because if people come see me, I'm representing my profession. And if it doesn't work and I don't take care of them right way, it represents like saying, hey, I tried a chiropractor and it didn't work for me. Where typically, if you go to a medical doctor, you're going to try, he wasn't a good doctor. Let me try another one. Let me
Right.
try another one. Let me try another one. Let me try. You're going to keep going till you find someone. In our field, it's similar. It's the same way. And that's why referrals are big. That's
Yes.
why, Yelp reviews, next door, just the community, what they think of you. They'll let you know how good the doctor is. And so my point is I want to represent the profession at a high level. And so I stay in the zone state when patients come in, and my body's mentally and physically in one place. My mind isn't outside the door. My body's in the office. It's really important to be locked in like an athlete. You stay in the zone. You come in ready to perform every day like an athlete is ready on the field. Pay attention to detail, man. You pay attention to extra things you have to do to be better at your trade, from seminars to uh, podcasts to online, and you learn to keep getting better every day. And that's what I would expect if I went to see a doctor. I want a doctor who wants to get better every day, and I want to see a doctor who tries to perform every day to be his best. Good at communication, guiding me to places that I was unaware of. Someone who coached me to be better, and that's what coaches are supposed to do with athletes. Take athletes to a level they can't get to by themselves. So my job is to get a patient to a level that they can't get to by themselves. And if I
You know,
do that, then I'm doing what I went to school for, and I feel really good inside that I'm changing lives.
wow. So with this book, what would you say your goal would be for this book? Like what I'm sure when you wrote it, you had some goals. Like What is a goal of
To
that?
simplify everything instead of saying, you need this, you need that, you need to get, I understand cold plunges, infrared saunas are good for you. I wanted to teach people how their mind and body works. And if you do these basic things, you're going to cover 90% of it. And as a result of that, now you could add good food choices and you could,
Right.
you could get better sleep as a result. You're going to communicate better. You're not going to be, your words are going to come out more efficiently. You're open to learning, you're listening better, the other part of your senses are working and more astute. I feel like I want to make people better on the inside, Mark. I want to make them bring out more of what they have in there that's never been brought out, that they didn't even know they could hack that inside to make it better. And if I could teach them and I could break their physical pain cycle that typically what people come in with, I leave them feeling better mentally and physically. And now the domino effect can happen to the family and all the relationships and the friends that they associate themselves with. They're just more efficient. They're more productive. All the things they're doing, they're going to get better results with. They're that calmer space, which you talked about. They're making better decisions. And so I'm really helping guide them to a place they never thought they could get to give them an experience, not a healthcare visit, an experience they never felt they could ever achieve. And by doing that, I feel like I could change a lot of lives and have a lot of stats change a lot of lives without a lot of bad addictions and going down a rabbit hole. I'm trying to move them out of the rabbit hole. And the goal is, Mark, as people age, the sweet spot is have this experienced brain in a youthful body. We all want youth with experience. But unfortunately, when people not taking care of themselves, there's this disconnect. They have this mind that wants to do something, but the body isn't following. And that's going to be really frustrated. They're frustrated. They're going to be depressed. They can't move. They can't do the things they want to do. Don't get old. But, nobody really taught us how to age. So my goal is to show people how to age more efficiently, to have better results as you age and be more aware of the age process does happen. And if you can get ahead of the game, I'm able to do stretching. I'm able to walk. I don't even think of my health at 66 that I can't travel. I don't even think that I can't go on a backroads bike tour, that I don't want to climb the Acropolis. I don't think that I can't go into Dolomites and hike in Italy. I don't think I can't do things because my health is in the way. But again, a lot of that, Mark, is, you know, practicing what you preach and doing all the things you need to stay flexible and stay strong and to eat better and stay in a calmer state because you're going to be happier as you get older, right? You don't want to be depressed. You don't want to be down and coulda, shoulda, woulda. So I'm trying to give people a blueprint formula to age efficiently with less health breakdowns, to hack the inside, to give them better results, improve their quality of life, have more fun, more activity, to enjoy themselves better and be happy where they're at.
Laugh more.
Yeah.
That's people don't realize that it's an inside job.
Uh-huh.
Whatever's going inside is going to come out.
There you go.
Period. I've seen certain people where, they're 45, but they look like they're 75. And it's because of a hard life of stuff that maybe it's bitterness and forgiveness is a huge one. People don't realize unforgiveness will age the tar out of you, because that's hate. Anything that's evil is basically black. I look at it. It's black.
And I talk about that in the book too, Mark, on how that, whatever we teach our subconscious brain, all it knows is what we teach it. If we teach it unforgiveness and we teach it, selflessness, and we teach it, all the things we talked about earlier, it just takes on a mind of its own. And that alien kind of runs our body and it's the autopilot. And unless you get help, unless you get other people around you to change that, or you see the forest of the trees, you kind of think that's part of your life. And the brain's not trying to screw you over. It's just what it does. It just, whatever you teach it, it's all it knows. And if we could teach it positive, good habits, our lives, we could change our aging angle. I call it proactive aging, not reactive aging in the back of the book. And most people age reactively instead of proactively. And it's like landing a nice plane and a landing strip as you age instead of kind of going down really quickly into a crash landing. And you can't get time back. One thing
Yeah.
you cannot do at 80 years old, saying, you know what, I should have stretched. I should have lifted weights. I should have been calmer. I should have hydrated.
But it's not too late.
Yeah, it's not too late, but you can only get so much out of that. So the
Yeah.
sooner you start this blueprint formula of aging
It'll be easier when
you're going to enjoy yourself at 80, like, wow, you're still 55, you feel, right?
right.
So I don't know. I want to give people a different way of aging and learning about themselves inside to get better performance out of themselves to, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I think that I'm so excited about changing people's lives in that fashion. I feel like we could give patients statistical and people results. And I'm excited about sharing this with people I will never probably meet, but they read the book and I could change their life. But just knowing the self-care program they would need to do, I feel like I could change their path forward too. And as a chiropractor, I don't want to make it a chiropractic book. I want to sprinkle my profession in the book, and I don't want to make it a all chiropractic book because I think that turns people off. But I just wanted to let people know, if you decide to use the profession, this is why you would want to use it, and this is what it could offer you. But if you chose not to use it, these are some things that you could health hack your body. And so that's the way I wanted to come across in the book. And I think if I were to get patients or people to try the profession, that'd probably be the best way. And gave them a lot of tools to guide them in that direction.
But I love what you're doing because you understand the inside. See, just a regular chiropractor, which you're not, but a regular
Mhm.
chiropractor would just, okay, come in, crack your back, get you out.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
just like our just it's just the way the system has created. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of good doctors and there's a lot of bad doctors. It is what it is. But what I'm loving what you do is you're going a little bit deeper. You're going on the inside because the inside is going to show the outside. The inside is going to show if you find out what's going on the inside, you're finding out where the pain's at.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you could say, okay, you look at someone's back after you look at what's going on the inside. You're like, okay, that's why you have your middle pain, or that's
Uh-huh.
why there's this pressure in here that's just always just gauged up, you know.
I'll give you an example, Mark, is patients, normally the first thing, first of all, in our office, we have, it's like a body shop. So you come in, you get chiropractic care. We have 3 massage therapists. We have someone who just stretches you. If you want to get stretched, let's say you're weak on your stretching. Well, I'm going to guide you and say, this person will help stretch you and get you going on your flexibility program. We have someone who does hypervolts and rehabilitation in the back, and showing you foam rolling techniques, and showing you body pillows and pillows you could use to improve your sleep, right? But a lot of people sleep incorrectly, which we talk about in the book in the sleep chapter. And a lot of people sleep on their stomachs, and that torques their body. And just teaching them how to sleep correctly and putting them in a position to sleep better gets them better sleep. Now their immune system's better. Their immune system's better. They have less sickness, more clarity, more focus. Their day's better. And you could see the whole effect of going forward, just changing their sleep position. And so, if you could help patients and teach them the things that they're doing incorrectly, and guide them and give them a homework assignment saying, okay, this is a way you could change the habit. I have a water bottle near me. A lot of people don't hydrate. A lot of people don't drink water only when they're thirsty. Instead of, maybe monitoring their urine color, it should be pale yellow to clear, which we talk about in the book. And hydration is a big part of keeping your body flexible and pliable like a sponge. You need to move when you get older. So I would think weight training or keeping your muscles strong would be good for you. Keep your body strong if you want to travel when you get older, or move, right? Another thing you could do is we talked about is HIIT training, or high intensity interval training, which is, most people don't keep their heart strong. So we have heart disease. So I show you how to keep your heart strong through breathing correctly while you're, going through workouts, because most people, when they're stressed, they breathe in their mouth. It's your body's subconscious brain's mechanism of, huffing and puffing. And it's counterintuitive to go in the nose where we pump up our lungs. Our lungs, like a big balloon, is part of the immune system. So many people who are stressed 24/7, they breathe incorrectly. And this improper breathing leads to consequences over time. And the consequences over time means, you're going to age quicker. So maybe showing people how to breathe better and practice breathing techniques and going to yoga would be a good idea for the doctor to kind of mention that to patients, and have yoga instructors on your team that I could send patients to, or Pilates instructors, or Tai Chi instructors. And these are things that kind of, a lot of parents say, my kid has ADD. I said, how about, have you ever tried martial arts? Martial arts keeps someone in the moment. They have to kind of show discipline. They're with a bunch of other friends in the martial arts class, jujitsu, and it teaches them, how to control themselves better, how to kind of control anger and frustration out of
And
themselves.
to release.
And so again, I can't teach them that, but I could refer them to ideas that they might want to look at that might
Right.
work for them. Do you see? So these are things that you can do as a doc to help patients out. You have your team that you could share, and I send patients to different ideas and give them ideas and guide them to different ideas. And most of the time they kind of figure it out, and they get a chance to sit on it. And, if you can remove the stress and anxiety state in patients, you're going to get them to a calmer state, better decision making. And we already talked about what the outcome will be with that.
No, I love that, Dr. Nick. This is beautiful stuff, and it seems so elementary, but it isn't.
And I wanted to put into a flow that made it seem elementary, so it's not overwhelming. Because of so many things that are overwhelming, I wanted to I wanted to put something out, Mark. It's easy to absorb, digest, and then implement. We all
It
know
is.
to stretch. Patients, I say to them, hey, I don't have time to stretch. Okay, I get it. How about you do it right before you go to bed? Maybe you have a yoga mat near your bed, and the yoga mat and the foam roll is there for a reason to help you change your habit. And maybe instead of sitting and watching TV mindlessly, maybe you kind of get on the floor and stretch a little bit, 15 minutes for you, and then go into bed and pass out. Put your brain in the present moment. It calms you. It kind of extends your muscles. It helps you open up your flow. This is probably a good time to stretch, decompress from the day of all the forward activities, get you into the backward world. It gives you better balance, right? And so if you have better balance, you have better power. You have better power, you're going to be functioning at a higher level. I mean, again, another tip, people to guide them to ideas, guide them to better results.
I love it. And when I mentioned, just more elementary, I feel that these days we need to be more elementary with people because we're using all these $50, $100 words that people don't even know. And it makes them sound all smart. I'm happy about the smartness and the education. I'm not knocking that. But I think sometimes we need to get back to the beginning of things because sometimes the ruin of things is the technology that we have sometimes. And I love what you do, how you broke it down. You broke it down simple. It's simplified. And I love that people are actually yearning for that and not even realizing it.
I haven't seen a book like it maybe. So my goal is to win if I had one award, Mark, to win,
Love it.
I would want to win the implementation award. If you were to read 10 books, what book gets you to implement
Dude,
what the
love
book
it.
told you the best? I want to win the award because it shows I simplified it so easily. It made it worthwhile that they could see parts of the book that they could implement this for their health that wouldn't overwhelm them, something
Mhm.
they could add to their life instead of take something away. And give them better results going forward. They can manage their stress better. Stress never goes away. You just have to manage it better, right? And so if I'm teaching how to manage it better and give you better balance with that, then you're going to have a better outcome and your whole life's going to be happier. You have more good days than bad days. How's that? Most people just fight the bad days and not knowing there's a good day out there. And there are good days. You just have to know how to get to those good days.
Wow. I got to share this. I'm going to read something out of your book. When cortisol levels remain too high for long periods of time, and for many of us, that's 24/7, there can be serious health problems. For example, the small amount of cortisol that normally helps reduce inflammation can in large amounts actually suppress your immune response, increasing your susceptibility to bacteria and viruses. Other effects that you can experience from having too much cortisol in your system for too long include headaches as a result of increased blood flow to your brain, anxiety and depression, sleep issues, high blood pressure, heart disease, sudden allergies, autoimmune disorders such as lupus, lack of concentration and memory issues, digestive problems and stomach issues, diabetes, weight gain, obesity. The solution to the overproduction of cortisol is to find non-harmful ways to manage your stress. It takes a lot of the practice, persistence, and patience. But the good news is that finding positive ways to balance stress and calm can make a huge difference in the way you feel. Now, the next thing, I love this. He has in his book, Dr. Nick's tip. I have to keep going. The news media does a great job of reporting stressful stories because they understand that that's what people watch. Does that ring a bell, anyone? Everyone's focusing on the airplanes right now. People watch and read, and that's what improves their ratings. When you are stressed or when you are trying to cut down on your stress, avoid the news for a few days, and even better, for a few weeks, and notice how much easier it is to get to the calmer state that will improve your overall health. Love it.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, a lot things not to do, maybe avoid, maybe ways you can kind of, add to your life. Add to your life less chaos, add to your life less stimulation, right? Shut down the phone before you go to bed, shut down your computer, maybe meditate, right? Maybe stretch before you go to bed, things you can do. And again, you got to realize, Mark, whatever we teach our brain is where it goes. It goes. So that's what I want really people to know from
Wow.
the book is, whatever we teach the inside, it's like we have this autopilot brain. We have two brains in one organ. I started out that way. And this conscious brain takes the outside world and it teaches our autopilot brain what to do inside. So however we perceive the world, and this brain doesn't know fantasy from perception, imagination, it's just sending off bubbles all day long, bubbles of thoughts. And whatever we latch onto and think is accurate, and we start putting it into this other part of our brain, the autopilot part of our brain, that's who we become. And
You know,
so the question is, nobody really fact checks our perception. We just see it as, since our brain's thinking about it, it's accurate, but it's really not as accurate. And that's why we need other people to kind of, to see, as far as the healthcare world goes, to make sure keeps us on track. And a lot of these instructors, Mark, I put in the book, the yoga instructors, the Pilates instructors, if you feel overweight, if you feel like you can't do the activities, they're happy to have you in the class because they know you're trying. They know you're trying to do what you can. They're not looking down on you like, what are you
right.
doing in my class? Because you're so inflexible. You don't
They
belong
understand.
here. No, that's a perception in your mind. That's a fantasy. That's non-realistic. If you get out of your own way, a lot of people get in their own way. And when they get in their way, they can't really move forward, right? So just use these other people who are there to help you. Take advantage of them. Sickness costs more than health. You might say, well, the yoga class costs this. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you as you age, if you get more sick, that's going to cost you way more than staying healthy now. Invest in yourself, invest in your health, hang around the right people. Keep moving yourself in the right direction. And then life becomes fun. It's not a grind. And a lot of people are just grinding through life and it's not fun. That's why they get angry, they get depressed, they get frustrated, they're more reactive, they make bad decisions, and it just spirals them down this rabbit hole. And the further they go down this rabbit hole, eventually they have to do something, usually it's a rehabilitation program or something they have to do to make a change. And eventually they make it to realistic voices who gives them the second opinion to their perception, the way they saw life that they thought they were so accurate with. And it's inaccurate. And now they're trying to help guide them and build this whole new autopilot system that people didn't teach it the right way. And as a result, to try to bring them out of the rabbit hole of ill health so they get better balance, make better decision making. That's more part of their life. They got Amazon books or tohealthwithyou.net, Mark, tohealthwithyou.net. It's something that I wanted to, I have it right here. I didn't pull it out yet. Here we go. To Health With You, and I have it on the back here, so it's all good. And then follow me on Instagram, Better From Within. I do a lot of things with patients on there, and I show patients how to guide them to better health, and all the patients that I talk about. So I really believe in doing, not just talking about it. I just don't want to talk about it. I want to do everything I say in the book. Everything I talk about in the book, I do myself. And so I want to set out that blueprint formula for what people need to have more fun as they age. Yes, San Carlos, California. If they need someone in their area where they live, feel free to reach out. I'm in San Carlos, and leave a message on my voicemail. I'll get back to them and let them know wherever they're at, wherever they're located. I'll try to find somebody who might be able to help them in the area they live. I love it too, man. I'm so excited, and I appreciate you having me on the show too, Mark, to get the message out. Okay, love you, my man. Talk soon.